Welcome to Rex Factor!
This week, Edith of Wilton. With your hosts, Graham Duke and Ali Hood.
Hello!
Hello.
And welcome to Rex Factor, reviewing all the nearly monarchs of England and the United Kingdom from Æthelred to Albert Victor, the people who could or should have become monarch only for fate to intervene. And today we consider our first female nearly monarch, Edith of Wilton, a sister and potential rival to Æthelred the Unready in the late 10th century, as well as being a saint.
Sister.
Sister. A sister and a sister.
Okay, don't know why that, I suppose, yeah. But that is surprising, isn't it, to have a female on the list so soon.
Indeed, yes, particularly because of the known antipathy in Wessex towards the idea of Queen, so we'll find out what's going on there. Before we start, if you want to find out more about us, head to our website, rexfactorpodcast.com, where you'll get more information about the podcast and also links to our social media. And if you want more from us, then you can go to patreon.com/rexfactor, sign up to become a Privy Councillor, and you get an ad-free version of this podcast, over 450 additional bonus podcasts, plus access to our Discord channel. You're sort of trying to poke yourself with a toy narwhal tusk.
I was just tickling the end of my nose. It makes me sort of introduces quite a gag reflex, but in a nice way.
Each to their own. You can also now watch the podcast, so we are available to watch on Spotify and on YouTube, if you'd like to have a visual of Ali sticking a narwhal tusk into his face.
I really like this.
I mean, it's genuinely a bit sort of, you wouldn't want to inadvertently poke yourself up the nose with it.
No, anywhere really.
Anyway, we're not doing a narwhal today, we are doing Edith of Wilton, so let's find out who she is.
Biography!
Edith of Wilton was born in about 961, the daughter of Edgar the Peaceable and Wulfrith. This is a notable match in Rex Factor lore because Edgar is said to have seduced Wulfrith while she was a nun at Wilton Abbey.
Oh, yeah.
Thus, Wulfrith is the original nun in Sex with Nuns.
Yeah. Although we found out not the first.
Indeed, yes, that there were predecessors. Edith is unusual in these early episodes of the series in that we are not restricted to just a few lines here and there in the odd medieval chronicle or later medieval histories. Instead, we have a full, near-contemporary biography. Or, to be more specific, a hagiography, which is a saint's life, a vita.
Oh, cool, because she was a saint, so they're going to...
Saint Edith, yeah. So it's thus a sort of a biased account which is intended to promote her sanctity.
But at least it is an account.
But it is an account, and thankfully for us, rather than the usual hagiographical fare, which is often written centuries after the fact and basically invented, Edith's Vita is not only near contemporary, but it's written by the foremost hagiographer of the 11th century, a Flanders monk called Gosselin.
Does she know him?
She didn't know him. It is after her death, so it's near contemporary.
Right.
He is, though, he is a chaplain to the nuns at Wilton Abbey about 80 years after Edith's time.
Okay.
So it's sort of second-hand. It's passed down oral tradition, but generally speaking, that's pretty close. Usually we'd be talking hundreds of years later, and they just write whatever. And it's indeed, he is clearly basing his hagiography on a lot of anecdotes or traditions from the nuns at Wilton, which often reveals sort of unexpected characteristics for a holy saint. So it's almost unique in being a near-contemporary account of a female religious community in the late Saxon period. Gosselin, though, is also rather cynically angling after potential future employment, so he made a second, slightly different version of the Vita, which he dedicated to the Norman Archbishop of Canterbury, Lanfranc.
Oh, the slimy toad.
And he sort of attempts to explain away some of the less traditionally saintly behaviour that we have with Edith, and he also tries to greater legitimise her by associating her with more respectable male figures, because he knows that Lanfranc's going to be suspicious about A, Saxons, B, women.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, it's this sort of dissonance between these kind of austere reclusive figure that Gosselin promotes in the Vita, but also the anecdotes that he includes that are obviously from the nuns, which seem to contradict
Right.
the saint.
Oh, brilliant.
And probably within those two, we get a sense of the actual character.
Yeah, nice.
Now, for one thing, it is debated at a very basic level whether Edith actually was a nun at all, or just a woman of noble birth living at Wilton Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
So the abbey had a reputation for learning, for education. So it was almost like an elite boarding school for high-born, sort of noble daughters. Some would eventually leave, get married and live entirely secular lives, but others would remain at Wilton all their lives and become nuns.
Yeah, you just know it, wouldn't you? You get in, what's it called? Institutionalised.
Yeah. So some accounts suggest that her mother Wulfrith was a nun, that Edgar abducted her, forced himself on her.
Oh, yeah.
Others suggest she wasn't a nun and that they were fully married before she ultimately turns to Wilton.
Edith?
Edith's mother.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So there's this grey area. We talked about that in Æthelwold's episode earlier in the series as well, this grey area with women who are in nunneries but not necessarily fully nuns, but not necessarily fully not nuns.
Because it's the closest thing to boarding school at the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the fellas would have been sent off to do... Well, they used to get sent off to other families to get trained up in knightly ways. Maybe there's a bit of that. What'd you do with the woman?
Send her to a nunnery. I mean, I don't know if that was your scenario where you were sort of potentially an alternate life force was just to be tonsured and sing away for the next 50 years.
Oh, if I were a more keen, I don't know, gardener, brewer, I'd love it. In fact, I'd probably love it.
Whatever the Airfix equivalent of the
exactly.
10th century is.
Yeah. I'll sit there. Yeah.
So, in terms of Edgar and Wulfrith, whether for a night or for a year, the ultimate extent is that the relationship is fairly short-lived. So, either during or just after her pregnancy, Wulfrith returned to Wilton with newborn Edith, and indeed Wulfrith becomes the abbess of Wilton.
Right.
Edgar, however, remarries, possibly for the third time in about 4 or 5 years, to Ælfrith, who is the first anointed queen consort of England.
Okay, is that where we started the...
It's not where we started, but she was one of the big ones. So Edgar's marital relations, as you can probably tell, notoriously irregular. And Edith is one of 3 children by 3 different women within just a few short years of each other.
Yeah.
But he does seem to favour Edith. Wilton is positioned pretty close to the royal court and has a close relationship with court. So there's probably quite a lot of toings and froings between Wilton and Winchester. Edgar apparently sends 2 foreign chaplains to tutor Edith, Benno of Trier and the slightly ominously named Radbod of Reims.
Nice. Radbod? Don't think you should be sending her out to see Edgar. Was it him?
Him.
Oh, damn, right.
Shouldn't be sending him to see Edith.
Yeah, quite right.
But thankfully Gosselin is straight in to allay any fears of impropriety that you may have at this stage.
Shame.
She continued to dwell in the paradise of the cloister, where her own place is still remembered. The chaste teacher instructed her from outside the window, and accustomed himself to being heard rather than being seen, as was appropriate for the young pupil with her holy modesty.
So she was getting taught behind a wall?
Yes, or rather she's in her classroom and the teacher's outside next to the window, sort of shouting instructions in.
How peculiar. Why are they doing that?
One suspects that probably that's just Gosselin being like, I know it might seem a bit odd that she had these men coming and teaching her, and one of them was called Radbod, but actually they stayed outside the whole time and never saw her. It's fine. In addition to her sort of schooling tutors, Gosselin also tells us that she had spiritual mentors in the form of England's 2 most prominent clerics. So we've got Bishop Æthelwold of Winchester, yes, it's the local bishop, and also the Archbishop of Canterbury, no less.
Teaching her?
A spiritual mentor. And the Archbishop of Canterbury is, of course, Dunstan.
Oh, I knew you were holding something back. I could see it in your face. Of course it is. It's exactly this time.
It is exactly this time. Now, new listeners might be confused by Ali's reaction, but Dunstan was a recurring character in a large number of episodes in the first series of Rex Factor, always casting a disapproving glance on anything fun that might have been going on. You ultimately dubbed him the Fun Sponge.
Yeah, well, what's he up to here?
He's back!
Yeah.
Dunstan's back again.
Yeah, brilliant. What's he doing? What is he mucking up?
For those who don't know and haven't heard previous episodes, Dunstan, he's one of the key figures in shaping the religious and political direction of England, which is newly formed now as a state. We do now have England as a country, but Dunstan's one of the figures that really helps to create it as an institution rather than just sort of a military borders and territory. And according to Gosselin, he is very close to Edith, and she's something of a protégé.
Oh, this is really bad because it just... I know, I'm aware of this happening, but he has tainted her now. All right, but no impropriety there.
Oh, it's Dunstan.
Yeah, but that's where I thought you were going, and I think I was a bit disappointed when obviously his name popped up.
Now, I will apologise, Ali, that you're no doubt wondering whether there's a little jingle to accompany Dunstan into the third series. There isn't at this stage, but only because I've been doing so many episodes in 1 week that I couldn't add it on. But don't worry, when we do the Privy Chamber, he may get a little musical entrance. So if you sign up to be a Privy Councillor, then you get to hear Ali's reaction to that one as well. Now, perhaps for your benefit and Edith's... Are
you going to do loads of monastic reform now?
No, what I'm going to tell you is that the historian Stephanie Hollis is actually sceptical about the extent of Dunstan's closeness to Edith.
Oh, yeah.
She suspects that Dunstan has been artificially inserted, so to speak, to appeal to Lanfranc sensibilities. Because we mentioned before how the dedication to Lanfranc, Gosselin knows that he's a bit suspicious about Saxons, a bit suspicious about women, so he's like, right, if I can associate her with known worthy men... then that will help her cause in the context of the Norman audience. So you can't, of course, get any worthy or more glorious than Dunstan. So here we have Dunstan in the thick of things, but perhaps that could be exaggerated just to try and appeal to the audience for Gosselin rather than...
They would definitely have met, right?
Absolutely, definitely would have met, because Dunstan is one of the closest advisors to Edgar. He presumably will have encountered all of Edgar's children. He will go to Wilton because it's a notable place close to court, so it's absolutely plausible.
I mean, everyone in the country must have met Dunstan at some point. It's such a turning up all over the place.
Anyway, Edith seems to have made the most of her educational opportunities. Gosselin tells us she was blessed with talents. She shone out in grace, a voice like a swan, angelic singing, sweet eloquence, a noble intellect capable in all kinds of thought, a perceptive ardour in reading, hands as eloquent as they were accomplished in painting and in writing as scribe or as author, the fingers of a goldsmith or jeweller. She embroidered with flowers the pontifical vestments of Christ with all her skill and capacity to make splendid.
Yeah, that being good at needlework is a big thing in these days. That and having a comely nose or something.
Yes. And we even get a bit of a description of Edith.
Oh, yeah. Handsome.
In the gleaming garment of her body was clothed her soul, more gleaming still. In a beautiful court a more beautiful queen resided. Her appearance was more like her father, her sense of reverence more like her mother. Her eyes which shone from her inner radiance, the likeness of dove's eyes. Her mother did not desire to load her reddish hair with gold.
So she's got like black beady little eyes, like a pigeon.
And red hair, presumably.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite striking, isn't it?
Medium stature, apparently.
Yeah.
Now, while historians and some of the evidence may dispute this, Gosselin is very clear that Edith was committed to the religious life right from the off. So supposedly, when she was just 2 years old, Edgar visited her at Wilton along with numerous senior clergymen and courtiers, as if to the court of Christ and a heavenly betrothal feast. So presumably a kind of big state event that they all go along.
So he's saying he'd planned to marry her since she was 2?
No, this is Edgar visiting his daughter.
Oh, fine.
So they all go to see her at Wilton, and her parents laid out in front of her the finest clothes and jewellery of royalty and a whole host of religious objects.
I think she'd prefer a cuddle.
Well, that wasn't one of the options. So in absence of that, she chose the religious objects, obviously indicating a deeply thought-through process in the 2-year-old's mind that she was determined on a religious life. And reportedly, she grows into a deeply holy young woman, so she wore a hair shirt, which is the sort of uncomfortable undergarment.
Why are they still making those? Like, you'd have made it once and gone, this isn't an appropriate material for a shirt. Version 2. And
Well,
it would never be a
I think
thing.
they have items of clothing that aren't hair shirts, so it's something you deliberately wear when you are intending to live this sort of life of religious suffering.
It's rubbish. You should just put a stone in your shoe.
So anyway, she's got the hair shirt. We don't know if she's got stones in her shoe, but if she did, then she wouldn't complain about it.
No.
She copied out prayers with her virginal hand and embraced a life of abstinence.
What's a virginal hand?
It's the hand belonging to a virgin, I think. in this
It's not
case.
that it's never written a poem before.
I don't think so, no.
I don't know why that's...
Never a smutty limerick has this hand.
Yeah. What a very strange thing to say.
Anyway, she embraces abstinence. She encouraged her table companions with holy cheerfulness and the kindest joyfulness, abstaining herself as if she were feasting in such a way that frugality was preserved and love was spread around.
Can you be... was she saying she promotes abstinence? Is she talking about booze or sex?
I mean, I imagine both.
How can you do that in this
And
day and
food.
age? In that day and age, not the sex bit, the drinking, because you've got no water, have you?
Well, I think it's more that she's not being excessive in it. Well, in anything, but like in terms of eating.
She's not going to get lathered.
Yeah, she's not getting to Deliveroo and getting a cheeseburger or whatever.
Yeah.
She'll just be getting the finest wafer thin bit of...
Well, in that case, she doesn't need the stone in her shoe.
Well,
Okay. I mean, I can see Dunstan in all of this.
could I just maybe a bit of cheese between the bread? No.
Bigger stone for your shoe for descent.
Reportedly, she's devoted to the sick and destitute, cared for lepers, paupers, the disabled, those who'd fallen foul of the law. And such was the reputation that she built that Dunstan decided she was ready to bring forth a spiritual shoot for the supernal father, as her blooming youth had already matured fruitfully by her way of life.
Oh, Dunstan, stop it, you dirty old man.
So Edgar offered her the position of abbess at no less than 3 convents.
Right.
Edith initially refused, preferring the obscurity of the cloister and to stay under her mother's authority, not because she wasn't up to the job, but by an overabundance of humility.
Right.
So, just to be clear, it's not that I couldn't do the job, because obviously I could. I'm just so humble that I couldn't actually accept the offer.
Well, she's gorging on humbleness then.
Well, indeed, yes. But not for too long, so she is duly persuaded. So we're not sure, as one of them is Wilton, where her mother is the abbess, so it's presumably not the case, but apparently she is consecrated as abbess at Nunnaminster and Barking, but she's effectively working from home. So she actually stays at Wilton and appoints spiritual mothers to act as guardians in her absence.
So it's just a status thing or something?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Now, Sarah Foote thinks these appointments are implausible, because she's still only barely even a teenager at this point.
Yeah.
And there is a clash, as I mentioned, between Goslin's portrayal of Edith pursuing this reclusive lifestyle, what's called an anchorite, which is basically just somebody living a sort of excessively frugal, excessively reclusive life. And the many anecdotes that presumably are from genuine recollections of her life, which seem to run completely counter to this. So his narrative is full of Edith receiving royal visits, interacting with her fellow nuns, and living a life of some luxury. So it almost seems like when she was offered the jewels or the religious items as an infant, she went straight to the religious items, but she probably then went to the jewels and just got to basically keep everything.
Oh, okay.
So she purchased a relic of the True Cross from abroad at great cost, had a metal casket for heating her bath water,
Wicked.
and even had her own personal menagerie from all the exotic animals she received as gifts from foreign ambassadors.
That is the first thing I'd do with money in those days. Does the roof leak? Is it warm in here? Can I have a bath? I think that would be the biggies.
And if the answer is yes to all of those, and I still have a lot of money, can I have a zoo?
Well, I think that would feature quite low. After that, I think I'd go for like just something that wasn't true to eat. You know, it's also grim, isn't it?
Although again, though, to be fair, weirdly, in terms of your proclivities, just sort of being given a basic staple that will get you functioning through the day is probably actually
I'd be
about as
fine
much
with
as
that.
you really want. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fine. Just give me a bath then.
bath and roll on the zoo.
yeah, because she's a wise woman, this.
Have to put the bear somewhere, I suppose. So, also, despite very strict rules about what a nun could and couldn't wear, Gosselin describes, or rather spends quite a long time describing her luxurious clothes, particularly a sumptuous linen alb, which is a particular church vestment for special occasions, which she designed and embroidered herself. But even her regular apparel, over the haircloth, she's got this sort of very nice purple number.
She's pimping it all.
Yeah, which is obviously it's meant to be the regular black sackcloth that they all wear, and they all have to wear, but apparently she's got purple. So Gosselin does his very best to justify this and find a way that actually, if you think about it, that's even more humble than just wearing the not fancy clothes that doesn't cost any money. So even if she is technically a nun, she's also living like a princess.
And this is the bit where... Oh, okay, so this is the grey area when in Edgar's episode we were talking about, wasn't she actually a nun?
Or her mother in that case.
Oh, really?
Because this is Edgar's daughter, not his paramour.
Right.
But it is the grey area, and it's the same thing as with Wulfrith, as with her mother. She's there the whole time, she's never leaving the nunnery, and yet does a reclusive nun have heated baths and a zoo?
No, but she is in a nunnery. Yeah. But does a princess live in a nunnery?
Well, indeed. That's confusing.
It is.
Now, Gosselin claims she had to wear these clothes because Wilton needed her to maintain her high status to ensure the Abbey's royal patronage continued from Edgar.
Right.
Which, to be fair, is probably is an element of truth there, because having the king's daughter is quite a big opportunity from the patronage stake. So I guess they're like, let's just remind everyone that you are the king's daughter. Not hide you away in the corner, not seeing anybody, because then no one's going to realise that we've got the king's daughter here, and maybe they want to come along with all their money.
Would anyone forget? I mean, who's going to be looking out for the gown saying, oh yeah, better go and give her a chocolate bar or something?
Well, I guess the alternative is that the foreign visitors are saying, and should we come and visit Wilton? Yeah, of course, come along. Do we get to meet the king's daughter? Oh, no, absolutely not. No, she's a recluse. Oh, no, maybe we won't bother.
Okay. Okay, so there were people actually going along to see her.
Yeah. So it seems to work. So at her vocation ceremony, when she's 2, Edgar gave lands, bestowed royal gifts and increased pastures. And Gosselin tells us later on that she obtained without difficulty her father's indulgence.
Yeah.
So apparently as Edgar wrapped around her finger, whether this be money for Wilton, its sister churches, for herself, to beg for clemency for criminals, whatever it is, it seems like she is able to get what she wants. So as a result, she becomes a beacon for petitioners, not just from ordinary people, but also these foreign envoys who see her as a go-between to Edgar. So they think, well, if we can get Edith to speak up for us, she's able to get Edgar to do stuff.
Yeah,
as long as they've got an exotic animal going spare, she can be persuaded.
Well, no, you kept fish in those days.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. I don't think you could you?
I mean, they had ponds.
Yeah. But you want to see them side on.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have had an aquarium.
Or even goggles. Imagine that. When did you first get to see a fish then, properly? When was the first aquarium? These are the real questions you need answering.
Now, I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately, but things do move forward for Edith, even if not towards an aquarium. Edgar dies very much the height of his powers in 975 when he's only 31 years old. So he doesn't leave an adult heir.
Right.
And consequently, we have a disputed succession between his 2 young sons. Edward, who's the eldest, and Æthelred, who is the youngest, but Ælfrith's son, and she's the one who's the crowned consort, so perhaps feels should be her son. Dunstan and the Wheaton ultimately favour Edward, the older boy, but the divisions seem to remain. And in 978, Edith has a very ominous dream. Edith, in contemplation, dreamed that her right eye fell out. When she remembered this and immediately interpreted it to some of her sisters, she said, "It seems to me that this vision foretells some disaster to my brother Edward." As I'm sure you yourself were beginning to think.
Yeah.
What else could that mean?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden Edward dies.
Sure enough, when Edward decided to pay a visit to his brother and stepmother, Ælfrith, he is assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
So he is known as Edward the Martyr.
Yes. Because she kills him because she's the stepmother and wants his... this is all coming back.
Gosselin describes Edith as being grief-stricken when this sudden news struck her like lightning. And tells us that she went to his funeral, had to struggle to overcome her grief. Now, we don't have any direct evidence of her relationship with Edward, but, it's perfectly plausible they might have done. They're very close to each other in age, and perhaps both might have been demonised by Ælfrith, the stepmother, as the other children that she wants to do away with to promote Æthelred, her son, as being the king's heir.
But she would have been at the funeral too, right?
Oh, yes.
God. So the murderer was at the funeral?
Well, actually, there was a legend. I'm not sure if it was for the funeral or for the translation of Edward's bones. There was a legend that Ælfrith tried to go, but the horse wouldn't take her. So, who knows? Maybe she got held up. Anyway, nevertheless, it's shocking. The murder of Edward the Martyr, the king, and a boy king at that, is shocking. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle described it as the worst crime committed among the English peoples since their first coming to England. It might have topped that subsequently, but at the time, apparently. Now, Ælfrith is widely blamed for the murder, and there is genuine outrage at the idea that she basically will win and get her son on the throne, because Æthelred is the only Ætheling, the only male heir surviving of Edgar. But he's not the only child.
Oh, that's why we're here, isn't it?
Gosselin tells us. A firstborn daughter survived, more worthy of her father's eminence. After discussions along these lines, they all agreed to take St. Edith from the monastery and elevate her to her father's throne, for women rule among many nations, believing indeed that a lady of mature foresight could govern so great a kingdom better than childish ignorance. A very well-attended assembly of the nobles and the people was held at Wilton, and Ælfhere was the leader and head of the military. The Lord's bride was invited and asked to return to earthly dregs after the embraces of Christ. And so that the monastic profession should suffer no loss, all the leading statesmen and princes offered their daughters to be consecrated together.
So it would take lots of daughters to replace one Edith.
To replace one Edith, but nevertheless they're saying, look, if you come out and do this, well, our daughters will go in and be nuns in your place.
It's weird. What's the economics of that? Because doesn't more nuns mean more expense for the church?
Well, I mean, they're living very austere lives, aren't they? There's only so many.
And maybe they pay I don't know. Mad.
I don't know how well they're planning these things in the budget.
No. Oh.
Anyway, the offer is there. Edith is asked, will you be the monarch? Will you be queen?
Who's she asked by?
The nobles.
Because alternatively, it's that the person who's there only because the other fellow was stabbed. So the nobles actually got together and said,
let's stop Ælfrith. Who've we got? The only other child of Edgar is Edith.
Wow.
But such was Edith's devotion to God that, despite apparently increasingly forceful argument, she rejects the offer of the earthly throne.
Wow.
And her younger brother Æthelred does become king.
What happens to all those nobles? Just politics.
Just carry on nobling, I guess.
Yeah. Golly, that's got to be other than Cromwell, it's got to be the first time you've been offered a throne and not taken it. First time someone says no.
Yeah. It's really more of a sort of just, it's not really meant to be a question, to be honest. It's kind of rhetorical, really.
And also, we do have these swords. So
the question is, did it really happen?
Yeah.
Gosselin's account is the only one we have telling us that she is offered the throne. And as we previously discussed, Wessex is notoriously cynical about the concept of queens, even as consorts, never mind a queen regnant.
Yeah.
So it seems quite a leap to go to the idea of a woman ruling. The supposed head of the delegation that he mentions, Ælfhere, the head of the military, I mean, that is who he is. He is the most powerful nobleman in the country at the time, but he's also seen as being a key ally of Ælfrith, and thus Æthelred.
Right.
Perhaps even could have been behind the murder. So it feels a bit odd to have him popping along to offer Edith the throne
at
this juncture. The historian Susan Ridyard has dismissed it as highly improbable. It must be regarded as the creation of an 11th century hagiographical imagination. So it's basically another example of Edith rejecting earthly trappings in favour of commitment to God. So like at the start, when she's 2, do you want the jewels or do you want the cross? She chooses the cross and the religious stuff. Do you want to be the monarch of England or do you want to stay being a nun? Of course, I want to stay a simple, humble nun serving God rather than the earthly treasures of kingship. However, before we dismiss this out of hand, it should be noted, Æthelred is not crowned immediately after his brother's death. There does seem to be a period of negotiation and standoff between rival groups and factions at court, where it seems like there is a resistance to accepting him as king. So if you are seeking to stop him becoming king, surely Edgar's only other child must have been an essential part of the scheme. Surely there's no other way that you can really legitimately challenge him as king unless you use Edith, because she's the only one that is a child of Edgar the Peaceable.
Does that matter at this point? Does Edgar have any brothers that they can mine?
No, there's no other brothers and no nephews and nieces, anything like that.
This system is utterly flawed, isn't it? If you have too many, there's a problem, or you've got none.
Mm.
Don't know.
Or you've got a nun.
Very nice.
But so what you might imagine might have happened, we saw like with Æthelwold when he was claiming the throne and he went to a nunnery, found a noble-born woman and married her, and that increases his appeal. Maybe here the idea is we've got a royal daughter. Obviously she's not actually going to be in charge, but if we have a chap that we like, that we can marry to her, then through her he can legitimately rule.
That's more realistic, isn't it?
That feels more realistic, rather than sort of let's all bend to the knee and good Queen Edith will rule us for 50 years and we'll do what the woman says. More likely it's like, look, you're the only one that's actually the child of the king. Marry you to this chap. He'll do all the work, but nevertheless, it's legit because you're the king's daughter.
Yeah.
So you can see actually it's maybe not so implausible that they could have done that. If you don't want Æthelred, there's not really another way of doing it with any sense of legitimacy other than through Edith.
Oh, I'm flip-flopping here between that definitely never happened to that's really very sensible.
Regardless, what is certain is that Edith didn't become queen.
Yeah.
And instead she settled into her religious life. So she took on a new grand project, overseeing the construction of a magnificent new chapel at Wilton dedicated to Saint Denis. As ever, the dedication in 984 is a grand affair, the ceremony presided over by no less than Dunstan.
Yeah.
And he made a suitably cheerful contribution to the occasion. So he sighed and drew out his voice from the depth of his breast. Now this soul, beloved of God, this stellar jewel, will be snatched away from its earthly defilement and from our dwelling in hardship to the land of the saints. For this wicked world is no longer worthy of the presence of so great a light. For on the 43rd day from today, our most bright star will set.
Is he predicting the future now?
He is. He's prophesying that Edith will die.
Isn't that illegal?
In 43 days.
Imagine if someone had said that to Henry VIII, they'd have his head snicked off.
Well, indeed, yes.
Oh, that man needs putting out of his job at least.
Now, in fairness to Dunstan, apparently he makes his prophecy to an underling in private rather than actually at the dedication ceremony. But sadly, his oddly specific prophecy is to prove correct, and she does die 43 days later on the 16th of September 984, aged only about 23.
Did she finish her building?
Well, yes, because that was at the dedication ceremony.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Sort of her mother Wulfrith was apparently tormented with grief, but no doubt comforted by the fact that Dunstan was there unto her last gasp, and indeed performed her funeral service apparently in tears, though he criticised everybody else for being in tears.
Of course he did. Seriously. Oh, he's such a loser.
We don't know why she died. Perhaps she entered the nunnery because her health was poor. So perhaps they knew that she wasn't likely actually to go on to have marriage and children, etc. So that's why she went in. Alternatively, Jane Schulenberg has observed that there is something of a pattern in medieval Europe in this sort of period of premature deaths amongst sanctified nuns who were celebrated for their sort of ascetic living. So these sort of impatient angels, as they're dubbed, who almost embrace death in their abstemious living to get to heaven more quickly. Because you think if they're not really eating very much, the hair shirts, the stones in their shoe, all this sort of stuff. You think also these very young girls, you think of, sort of eating disorders now and that sort of stuff, add a kind of holy element to it. And you think, well, actually, maybe it's not very surprising that you have so many of these girls dying at a very young age when they're starving themselves and living abstemiously. Yeah, maybe not actually that surprising. Now, usually this is where the story ends in the biography, but of course she is Saint Edith, so dying is only part of the story.
Okay.
Her cult was actually quite slow to get going. Her mother, as the abbess, was a more celebrated figure at Wilton initially. And ironically, it's actually her brother Æthelred who's the one that really promotes the cult.
Huh.
Both for her and for his older brother Edward in the 990s, because having saintly siblings is a way to enhance his own prestige. And perhaps in the context of Viking raids, internal divisions, there's been a cattle plague recently, Æthelred feels he needs some of that saintly stardust just to give his reign a little bit of a boost.
Yeah.
So reportedly, Edith appears in visions to Æthelred, to some of his senior magnates, and of course to Dunstan, urging them to elevate her remains and translate her bones to Wilton itself. So apparently when she died, Dunstan had taken her right hand after she made the sign of the cross, and he prophesied, or maybe she prophesied, one of them prophesies, "Never shall this thumb which makes the sign of our salvation see corruption." And sure enough, Edith now told him in the dream that when he opened her coffin, he would see she was only decayed in the organs of the body which I misused in girlish light-mindedness. That is, my eyes, my hands, and my feet. But her thumb, on the right hand, would be uncorrupted.
Well, she should have said that phrase about her whole body.
And thus it was. So in 997... Edward the Martyr is translated Shaftesbury, and Gosselin tells us that Dunstan oversaw the translation of Edith into Wilton Abbey, which was an impressive feat given that he himself had actually died 9 years earlier. Perhaps a slight flaw in the narrative there. Yeah. So either Gosselin didn't know who actually did it, or he just felt that narratively it made a bit more of an impact for Dunstan to do it.
I feel like that with these chroniclers. It's not just making an account of the story. It's like, if I was to be able to get some sort of budget and film this, this would make much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, he was dead. It doesn't really matter. It's just a bunch of. So we're not really going year by year. It's just stuff happening.
Yeah, wouldn't I hear what you're saying, but wouldn't it be better if it were done? Yeah.
And I put it back to you that there is no sentence you should ever make which involves saying, "Wouldn't it be better if it was Dunstan?"
Yes, that's true. Don't clip that and chop that up.
Still, it's not until the 1030s that her cult really gets going, and perhaps just because it suits some of the abbesses at Wilton who do have a personal connection to Edith, and thus it's a way for them to promote themselves, particularly if there is a bit of a dispute over who gets to be the abbess at Wilton, saying, "Oh, well, of course, the saintly Edith said to me."
Oh, yeah.
Also, we have the Viking ruler Canute seems to have promoted her cult. Perhaps as a part of his bid to appear as the perfect Saxon king, he cultivates an association with a royal saint. And technically, because you love your family trees, his wife, Emma of Normandy, who was initially the second wife of Æthelred the Unready, so Emma of Normandy is technically a sister-in-law to Edith of Wilton.
I believe you.
It's a weird connection in the family tree. There are now a large number of miracles reported in association with Edith. We'll go through them in the Privy Chamber rather than here, because there are a lot of them. But a large number of them have her protecting Wilton's property and riches from thieves. So there's one where a man takes some stuff from Wilton, dies, and then he just sits up from death and tells everyone, "Oh my God, I'm so scared because Edith is really cross with me and she won't let me go to heaven until I've sorted this out. So please take your land back and let me go."
Right.
She's a fierce protector of Wilton.
Is this after she died?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And indeed after he dies.
Yeah. Confusing.
However, it does seem that perhaps her star had started to wane a little bit with the Norman conquest, and they're not quite so interested in Saxon female saints, but that is why Gosselin is on hand to promote her and Wilton so a new audience.
Oh, yeah.
So that is the life and non-reign of Edith of Wilton. We shall now move on to review her after a quick break. So just a quick message to say that Rex Factor are going to be doing a live show at the Ludlow Assembly Rooms on Friday the 21st of August at 7 o'clock p.m. We're going to be looking at the 4 main contenders for the throne in 1066, Harold Godwinson, William the Conqueror, Harold Hardrada and Edgar the Atheling, and we're going to ask the audience who comes to the show to decide who should have become the king. We've had lots of fun. We've been to Ludlow in previous years and we've really loved getting the chance to meet Rex Factor fans in person. So if you are able to, then please do come along to join us on Friday, 21st of August at the Ludlow Assembly Rooms. You can get tickets directly from the Ludlow Assembly Rooms website, or we will have a link to it on our website, rexfactorpodcast.com. Hopefully we'll get to see you there.
Battleyness!
There is a hint of a steely side to Edith between the lines of Goslin's portrayal. So one curious anecdote relates to Edith's ostentatiously luxurious tastes in fashion, which are of course somewhat at odds with how a nun is supposed to dress. Now perhaps not surprisingly, this attracted criticism from a certain senior cleric. Not Dunstan though.
Oh.
Bishop Æthelred of Winchester took her to task. "O daughter, not in these garments does one approach the marriage chamber of Christ, nor is the heavenly bridegroom pleased with exterior elegance."
Why is Jesus getting married?
It's all symbolic. The nuns are the brides of Christ, aren't they? That's sort of part of the language, I think.
Oh, right. And she probably said, get stuffed.
Well, exactly. Obviously you didn't because you just said that, but you might expect some kind of suitably chastened response or something or other, but it's a little spiky. Edith replies, "Believe, O Reverend Father, that a mind by no means poorer in aspiring to God will live beneath this covering than beneath the goatskin. I possess my Lord who pays attention to the mind, not to the clothing."
Yeah.
So she's saying God loves us for what is on the inside, not what is on the outside. God cares about my soul, not about my clothes.
Isn't that what he was saying? And that was using that as an argument as well, saying don't dress up because God wants to know what your inside bits.
But she's saying God doesn't really care what's on the outside. I am holy within.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I'm wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
So Æthelred put firmly in his place. Now, obviously, dusty old men criticising young women for their fashion choices by no means a unique occurrence in human history. So something quite satisfying, just the fact that she's able to deflect his criticism with a sort of fixed holy smile, little bit on edge. And as you said, effectively, get stuffed. With all due respect, get stuffed.
Yeah, I've got the brothers. My brother's the king, mate.
Yeah. However, the anecdote may also hint at deeper tensions. Now, unlike Dunstan, who really doesn't like her, Æthelred is a close ally to Edgar's queen, Æthelred. And Æthelred was given oversight of the country's nunneries. Perhaps sensible given Edgar's proclivities.
I remember this. This was her job, wasn't it?
Yeah, head of the nuns. But the nunneries don't seem to have been very keen on this idea, this central control, and indeed central control from Æthelred. And Wilton seems to be a notable example. And indeed, it's at all of these nunneries where these extreme legends about Æthelred were invented. You might remember there was a thing about her turning into a horse and murdering the abbot of Ely.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That all comes from these nunneries, which are supposedly under her jurisdiction, but seem like they are resistant to that.
Right.
And this perhaps hints at a rivalry. When you think of Wilton, Wulfrith, Edith's mother, is the abbess of Wilton, and Edgar was married to Wulfrith, and then he marries Æthelred. And Wulfrith has a child, Æthelred has a child. You think, well, there's more layers going on here than simply control of it. Now, Goslin is at pains to stress how definitely legitimately married Edith's parents were, in contrast to accounts likely encouraged by Æthelred to suggest otherwise. Goslin also explicitly states that Edward the Martyr is murdered at the connivance of his stepmother, which again is Æthelred. So in this context, we've got Edith giving a bit of a put down to Bishop Æthelwold, who is Æthelred's ally, whereas Edith loves Dunstan, who was Edward the Martyr's ally, not Æthelred.
Right.
So you can see this sort of division
Factions,
being drawn.
isn't it?
Exactly. You can see it's all part of it. And then if you look at the context of Edith being offered the throne, that sort of plays into this a little bit more as well. You could see that Wulfrith and Edith, and indeed Wilton, would have sought, if not to stop Æthelred and Æthelred, then certainly to have used any uncertainty to maybe secure guarantees about their positions and Wilton's independence. So they might have been like, well, if you want this, then this is what we want out of it. So maybe Edith wasn't exactly expecting to become the monarch, but they might have said, well, look, we can make life difficult for you. You've just killed Edward the Martyr. She's the king's daughter. What are you going to do for us?
Interesting.
Now, against Edith, of course, is the fact that, according to Gosselin, she is offered the throne and turns it down. And we consider all the other people that we're going to do in this series and how close they come and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The basic thing of just saying yes.
Having a go. She
Yes.
didn't even have a go.
So either she just says no, which is a bit rubbish, or if she had coveted power, then she failed to get it.
Yeah.
So if you imagine Gosselin is maybe making it all look a bit more pretty and nice and holy, but maybe actually there was a failed attempt to do it.
Yeah.
So she doesn't manage to become queen. But, you know, a little bit of spikiness.
One.
It's not very spiky, but it's in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving it something.
Yes. I think I'll give it something as well. I think also a 1. It would feel excessive to go any higher than that.
Yeah.
And I'm not it's not Battleyness, but it's equally...
We're looking for it here, aren't we?
Yeah, we're having to look for it. So it feels like it's a little bit of something in a personality that's not just this holy dove that Gosselin tries to paint, which I like, but I'm not sure that means she should get a big Battleyness score.
No.
So 1 for you, 1 for me, 2 for Battleyness.
Scandal.
Well, it's quite a fun disparity we've got between Edith's public image and her private self. So what she's really up to when Dunstan isn't looking. So, for example, we had Gosselin claiming that she wore a hair shirt, and yet on top of her hair shirt, here purple dyed with Punic red, with murex and Sidonian shellfish, and twice dipped scarlet interwoven with gold. Chrysolite, topaz, onyx, and beryl and precious stones were intertwined with gold. Union pearls, the shell's treasure which only India produces in the east, and Britain, the land of the English, in the west, were set like stars in gold. The golden insignia of the cross, the golden images of the saints were outlined with a surround of pearls.
Sounds so gaudy.
It sounds very, very gaudy. But again, when you think that Gosselin is trying to tell us about how reclusive and humble she is, and then you say, oh, what does she wear? Just gold and jewels and more gold and more jewels and gold.
Yeah. It's conflicting, isn't it?
And it's because like this is sort of stuff that actually, in Gosselin's time, there was this alb I mentioned was surviving. They still had it at that point. So again, he's having to describe an actual item of clothing that they have there and then.
Yeah.
So he's still wants to portray her as being humble and holy and all that, but equally it's like, but this is quite bling.
Yeah, and I've got to describe it to you, dear reader.
Now, you might think that's a problem, but without doubt she made her humility more glorious by public elegance, so that together with the gold-clad Cecilia she might please the Father, who alone sees in secret with her hidden pearl, and that visible frivolities might conceal hidden martyrdom.
What's the hidden pearl?
I know, yes, it does sound a bit suggestive. I don't think it's necessarily meant to, but I think what he's saying is that, it might look like she's got very gaudy clothes on, and of course, the public elegance of her clothes, the gaudiness of her clothes, only serves to mask more greatly how actually reclusive and austere and humble she is beneath, and of course God will see.
What a strange line of argument.
I mean, I think the truth is that it's quite hard to reconcile, and clearly she's wearing princess clothes.
I'm a vegetarian because I eat so much meat.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I think the reality is we've got Edith has a very large disposable income and dresses accordingly, so the notion of her living as this reclusive anchorite doesn't really... So you see, this is why some historians think, well, surely she's not really a nun, is she?
Yeah.
She's the king's daughter and she's just grown up at Wilton.
Yeah, I think that's right. But it does introduce that lovely amount of grey.
Except when you actually look at what she's wearing, in which there is not
not a hint of grey on it, yeah.
Gosling also devotes a fair bit of time trying to explain why the reclusive, understated Edith has a personal menagerie. And thus we get another slightly confused portrait. She also gathered together an innumerable household of wild animals, loving with the compassion all those works of the Creator in the spirit of his love, who is kind to all things. Certainly, whenever she was at leisure, she visited these guests with the mind of a recluse. Those animals which strongly armed men would hesitate to confront, this lone unarmed girl, so confident is innocence, delighted to receive as they ran to her and stroke with a gentle hand. The bear and the boar rather feared than frightened her, armed as she was only with faith. So she's got all these animals.
She's a pig whisperer.
She's exactly. But again, this is quite frivolous stuff to be getting on with when you're meant to be a nun doing nothing but worshipping God all day, and yet you've got a zoo. So Gosling even acknowledges that many might view these things as irrelevant to the religious life. Indeed, as he says, a product of her royal nature and totally pointless. But of course, it's all part of a holy, perfect character. Did not Jesus visit animals during his 40 days? It shows a concern for all of God's creation. And
yeah, I mean, that's an easier line to take.
It's an easier line to take, but again, it's the same as the clothes. She's got blingy clothes, she likes hot baths, and she's got a zoo.
It's not understated, especially for a nun.
Yes.
It's understated for a princess. Or at least... No, it's not even that, is it?
No. Throw into the mix the idea that she's machinating for the throne and against Æthelred, and it's a much spikier character and someone that's you could imagine being a little more scandalous than perhaps
two.
Well, yes, I mean the thing is, I guess, even if she is part of the lay community or is much more worldly than Gosling wants us to believe, I guess it's not actually scandalous really. If she's just a princess living at Wilton, is any of this scandalous?
Yeah.
It's only really scandalous because she's meant to be a nun. But
and if we agree she's not a nun, then it's just...
But she is a saint, so...
Yeah, she's better than a nun.
Yeah. So I feel like, for the benefit of her getting points, let's assume she is a nun, and let's assume that she's one of these where she's always got the perfect smile, perfectly appears, always has a perfectly reasonable explanation, and yet is clearly doing her own thing behind closed doors.
It's Prince Andrew, isn't it?
Well, I mean, let's not maybe go quite down that.
No, I'm going to go down. I'm going to go to 2.
Oh, where were you?
3. Oh no, I was on 2 before.
You were on 2, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll stick with 2.
Stay on the 2. Yeah, I think it's tall because I love the dichotomy. I love the dissonance. I love the sort of. I think it's quite fun, the fact that she's sort of going, yes, of course, but really,
yeah. She's going back to her cell.
But none of it's that scandalous, really. It's just not very nunny. So yeah, I think I'll give her a 2.5. Let's imagine that there's some stuff that Gosling has actually left out.
Oh yeah.
He's like, okay, I know I'm putting in all this stuff. I cannot explain that one.
Yeah.
I've explained a lot of stuff really dubiously. That is too far.
Too far, yeah. You should have just missed it out. Jocelyn, whatever his name is.
So 2 from you, 2.5 from me, 4.5 for Scandal.
Subjectivity.
Well, she's a saint, so obviously we've got loads of good deeds reported by Gosling.
I'm not going to count any of these.
She devoted herself to the sick and destitute. She preferred to serve the leprous rather than have royal power. Rather than ruling, she preferred to be beside ulcerated feet as if they were the footstool of Christ, and to tend them with bathing, and with her hair and kisses. She made herself an eye to the blind, a support to the weak, and a refuge and comfort for all the distressed. The ragged people did not fear the lady in purple.
Good. That's nice.
I mean, I don't know if that's so implausible, even if it is that she's not really actually quite as saintly as he makes out. There's,
Yeah, I'll believe that. I thought it was going to all be miracles.
Well, there's a lot of miracles, but obviously the miracles come after she dies.
Ah, right.
Not surprisingly, the common people were said to have thronged to Wilton, where Edith made charitable donations. Mm-hmm. She also had a soft spot for condemned criminals. She suffered on behalf of thieves as much as if they were her brothers Edward or Æthelred. She interposed herself before the sword and the neck, so that the executioner would have to strike an innocent woman or spare the guilty.
Oh.
That feels a bit less plausible.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, can someone remove the princess? She's here again. You can never get a good execution done these days.
It's always a nun turning up.
To become a saint, of course, you need miracles, and there are plenty to go on for Edith. As I said, I'll save the details for the Privy Chamber episode, but as a quick overview, she protects Wilton's property and treasure from thieves. She intercedes to save Canute during a storm at sea. She cures the sick and even heals a troupe of epileptic dancers trapped in perpetual motion. She can do it all.
Yeah. Why did she stop them? Sounds amazing.
Apparently even foreign ambassadors sought her favour by letters and gifts, and high-ranking ecclesiastics sought her intercession. Foreign kingdoms and principalities also gave her respect with greetings, letters and gifts. Religious leaders begged her to act as a saving intercessor. So she seems like she's an important personage. People come to her, they ask her to intercede with the king, and that makes sense again if she is the king's daughter and king's sister. She has those connections. Yeah. She's more worldly than Gosselin implies.
She's close to the seat of power. It is Andrew, isn't it?
Remarkably, she even has her own seal. Now that's not one of those, not for the menagerie, but a seal of governance. So the wax seal used for official documents.
It's like having being given a government email address.
Well, exactly. And that's a very clear indication of her high status and wealth. So it's a depiction of her on it, the seal. So it is her seal. And indeed, it's used as an official emblem by Wilton until the Abbey's dissolution in 1539. Describes her as Regalis Adelpha, royal sister. So again, stressing her status. And even more impressively, it survives. To this day, we have Edith's seal. It's the only surviving object, but we do have Edith of Wilton's seal. So that's absolutely not an invention of Gosselin. It's a real thing that we have.
Where is it?
I'm not sure, actually.
Let's have a look at that, because that would be great. But I wonder if it's the BM. Now lies... okay. The original seal was used by Wilton Abbey, which was destroyed during the Reformation, and now lies underneath Wilton House in Wiltshire.
The original wax seal is lost, but its design survives through 14th and 16th century casts.
Oh, that's all right.
But still, it's based on the original. Her final act in the world was completing her project to build a chapel. And Gosselin tells us she's fully engaged in the project from start to finish, as she plans it, pays for the construction, has one of her tutors, Benno, provide the decoration, Dunstan, of course, to do the dedication. She even seems to have been a regular visitor to the building site, so not just to encourage the workers, but apparently even got her hands dirty, so she carried stones in her sleeves to assist them.
Yeah, but that was thank you, Edith. Really helped us out today. Thank you. Do come back. Just got to keep the money flowing.
But as such, Catherine Kharkov has suggested that such close level of involvement makes her the first member of the Wessex royal family to be a known creator of a monumental work of art.
Right.
The only sort of criticism I found against her is later on failing as a saint.
How can she do that when she's dead?
Well, after the Norman conquest, Wilton's reputation and fortunes dipped somewhat, and some nuns felt she wasn't doing enough to support them. So they've not got as much patronage. Apparently there'd been a plague that a number of them... large number.
Are they blaming Edith?
Died. Well, she's their she is their saint. She's apparently all these miracles that she's doing all over the shop, but all of this is happening at Wilton, and where's Edith? So as Stephanie Hollis put it, it wasn't that she couldn't help them apparently, but that she wouldn't. Either that, or she was the laziest saint in England.
It's up to them to commercialise it, though, isn't it?
Well, apparently Edith appeared to them in a dream to point out that while she of course had a special affection for Wilton, she was a saint for all the people, and they must accept their temporal sufferings as a means of becoming spotless brides of the Lord.
So they've always got an answer for everything, haven't they?
We've got nice stuff there. She designs and builds a lovely chapel. She's she's an influential figure at court. She's got her own seal, miracles, and good deeds.
3.5, 4.
Oh, I was going to go more up to a 5. Because it's she's doing nice things. Isn't she?
She's doing nice things. I suppose it's about how to score this series. They're not going to be king or queen. No, I'll stick with 4. It's where my gut came.
So 4 and a 5. That's 9 for subjectivity.
Longevity.
Well, Obviously, we have the debate over whether she was actually offered the throne or somewhere in the mix in 978. But if we assume that there was a passing moment of nearliness, this would count as 1 month or less. So 0.08 years of nearly reigning, which gives her a score of 0.5 for longevity.
Okay.
Joint 29th.
Dynasty, not the programme.
Edith, of course, never married or had any children, so it's a score of 0 for Dynasty.
Bad news.
So overall, that gives Edith a total score of 16. It's actually second for the series so far.
Yeah. How did he get 44?
You see, Æthelred's looking a bit more impressive at the top there, isn't it? With 44.5.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's not all about the score. Does she have that certain something, that lasting legacy, the great achievement, the star quality that we call...
Rex Factor!
Well, I mean, she's a saint.
She is the most Rexy so far, I'd say.
She's got a more worldly life than we might expect. That sort of contrast between the real anecdotes and the saintly write-up that weirdly ends up giving us more of a personality than you'd usually have. The fact that he's trying to reconcile the two things, you feel like you get a bit more of actually her in there than you usually would. So we've got that fun real-life princess, we've got the heated bath, the zoo, the fancy clothes.
I'll give it to her.
A bit spiky with the bishop.
Yeah.
And we've got that what if, what if there had been a female monarch as early as the 970s? So that's 150 years or so before the Empress Matilda nearly pulled it off, over 500 years before Mary Tudor does eventually manage it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Flip side is, we don't know how much of that is actually the case or how much is just a web finally spun by Gosselin.
She's got those pigeon eyes, flame red hair.
Dove's eyes.
Dove's eyes. Telling the bishop to do one, carrying rocks in her sleeves and her shoes. Mm-hmm. I can picture her, at least, which is more than can say for the others. Mm. Yeah, I'll give it to her.
Now, it seems, again, not to, deny Edith her opportunity, but it sort of felt like throughout, particularly look at the scores, that you weren't particularly in her corner.
But she's just... Yeah, she's got certain something.
Yeah. Certain something. There is a certain something about her. It's tricky. I really like her one just because of that. The dissonance, the real Edith, the not real Edith, and the mix between the two. I don't know, is it Rexy? When sort of looking at some of the ones to come, I sort of think, how much are we going to have to talk about with her? Now, in a way, it shouldn't be. It should be standalone, and you shouldn't be measuring it by everybody else. But I'm just thinking, what will we be talking about that makes her Rexy? If let's say we've got, I don't know, however many of them at the end that have the Rex factor, and she's one of them, and we're making a case for why she is a contender. What's she got?
She's made the Rex Factor finals, but isn't getting out of the groups.
Now, you do have people like that. That is allowed. But
well, I'm sticking with yes. Is she gonna be your nearly then?
She might be. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go on the side of no. And it's interesting. I like it. It's a funny one because obviously you said no to Æthelred and I said yes.
Yeah. Sort of wish I'd said yes now.
And I feel like there's more to go on in some ways, personality-wise, with Edith.
Yeah.
That thus makes her a little bit more...
That's the only reason I'm doing that.
Starry. Really. But, yeah, I don't quite think there's enough there.
Yeah.
I think it's in terms of the throne bit, really. I don't think there's actually really... I think it's quite an interesting person to learn about, but it actually feels like we've obviously honed in on it because that's why she's in the series.
But she's a long way from the throne.
But it feels a long way from actually being a realistic throne person.
Yeah, there's a lot of personality, not a lot of power politics being chatted.
So that's a yes from Ali, but a no from me.
No one's got the Rex Factor yet.
Yeah, so she doesn't have the Rex Factor, but she is another nearly Rex Factor monarch. So we've had now one this series where I said yes and you said no, and one where you said no and I said yes.
Yeah.
Or have I just said that the same thing, different way around?
I don't know, because I sort of listened for the meaning rather than the words.
We've both said yes, but the other hasn't agreed.
Yeah. No one's got the Rex Factor, all four.
Exactly.
Correspondence Corner.
Well, let us know what you think and whether you would have been a yes with Ali or a no with me on this one. Head to rexfactorpodcast.com to get all our links and more information about the podcast. And if you want to support the podcast and hear more from us, sign up to become a Privy Councillor at patreon.com/RexFactor. You get an ad-free version of the main podcast, as well as access to over 450 bonus podcast episodes and our Discord server. And that will include the Privy Chamber episode for Edith of Wilton, where we'll go into more detail about those miracles, about some other elements of stuff that Gosselin described, and maybe a little bit more Dunstan as well.
Yeah, let's hope.
And we have some new Privy Councillors.
Oh, brilliant.
To welcome to the fold.
Who's here? I thought I smelt something new. So arise and welcome to Elise, Bethany J, Joe Bowden, Courtney Smith, Lindsay Kramer, Hannah Hunt, Louise Crick, Gemma Edwards, Martin Evans, Taylor Goodwin, Kate Casely, Alyssa Martin, Jenny Jeffrey, Martha Krieg, Ian Aceta or Aketa, Ksenia V, Alexander Herbert, Emily Watson, Sharon O'Sullivan, and Richard Heaps. Thank you.
Yes, thank you one and all. So that is all from us today. Next time we will be reviewing the father of Edgar the Atheling, something of a forgotten man in the mix of 1066, but very much a key part of that story, Edward the Exile.
Cool.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.